Hello beautiful people, welcome to the channel. The Witchy Goth here, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to talk about female misogynists because they actually do exist and I've come across one recently. I find it hard to believe, to be honest, that there can be women who hate other women, but there are. And I was also told that I'm a toxic feminist because I accept transgender and I accept trans women and trans men. They are my allies, of course I accept them. So I found an article on Psychology Today. This is from 2019, but I'm probably going to start doing a series on this. So I will be looking at different papers that have been placed into the psychological system. I will check them out. I will check the citings on there as well. So, you know, psychology is what I'm studying at the moment. Right, so 12 ways to spot a female misogynist. And I'm going to read from this article because I just could not be bothered to retype it all and put it into my own words. I just don't have the time to do that. So it's reviewed by Matt Huston, and it is written by Berit Brogard, DM Science, PhD. So this is a doctor. This is somebody who has been studying this. It's not that she's gone and sucked it out of her thumb. Women who hate women may not consciously realise it, but their acts reveal them. So men tend to lead the far-reaching misogynistic movements. But very many women are misogynists too. In fact, some evidence suggests that on Twitter, women use misogynistic language more frequently than men. Like their male counterparts, female misogynists are driven by either unjustified hate or contempt for women. The female misogynists that are among the most salient in society today can be described as the Puritan, the self-critic, the self-loather, the she-devil, and here is how to spot them. So, the misogynistic Puritan takes the ideal woman to be domestic, subservient, nurturing, kind, mild-tempered, alluring, youthful and sexually pure prior to marriage. She's adopted this feminine ideal from her misogynistic husband, family or acquaintances. And I agree with this because this person that was telling me that I'm a toxic feminist was saying that, but this is the natural order of things and this is how women should be. Why? Why can't women go and have a career? Why must women be subservient to men? Why must a woman have a child? Why must a woman listen to what her husband says and tells her to be and do? She takes herself to be pretty darn close to the feminine ideal. She is subservient, always standing behind her man as a solid pillar of support. She hates women who deviate from the feminine ideal and takes it to be her life's mission to find ways to discipline them and ultimately get them on the right track. That's in inverted commas. I didn't put that inverted commas. Michelle Duggar, a submissive and holier-than-thou housewife and reality television star, seems to exhibit some of this behaviour, advocating for complete feminine submission in a blog post for newlyweds. It's got a link in the article, which I'm going to link into the description box below. She shares advice on how women can keep their husbands happy. Well, can't they keep themselves happy? You know, they're a human being. And so be available, and not just available, but be joyfully available for him. Smile and be willing to say, yes, sweetie, I am here for you, no matter what. Even though you may be exhausted and being pregnant, and you may not feel like he feels. In other words, that is around the, sexual activity within the bedroom. The misogynistic self-critic is disdainful towards women who are not very feminine, whether it's because they chose not to be or because they are just bad at acting in a traditional way. For instance, women she takes to be too fat, too big, too masculine, too angry, too loud, too competitive, too hardcore, or too alpha. She is in favour of traditional gender roles and will use any opportunity she gets to preach their social virtue. Men should be dominant alphas, women should be soft and compliant. She may regard herself as one of the feminine misfits. Suzanne Venker, the author of The Alpha Female's Guide to Men and Marriage, How Love Works, writes that women have become too much like men. They're too competitive, too masculine, too alpha. She attributes modern women's inability to find lasting love to their need to dominate and overpower. Women who want to find lasting love, she argues, need to be soft instead of hard. They need to uncover their femininity. She relates how she used to resent having to be feminine to get along with her husband. But her alpha ways were bumping up against his alpha nature, she writes. We were like two bulls hanging out in the same pen together, and there was too much friction. So she decided to embrace her femininity, she reports on what she learned in this passage. It's a long passage, please bear with me. It's liberating to be a beta. I'm an alpha all day long and it gets tiresome. I concede that I thrive on it, but at the end of the day I'm spent. Self-reliance is exhausting. Making all the decisions is exhausting. Driving the car, literally or figuratively, is exhausting. It took me a ridiculously long time to get it, but once I did, once I accepted that the energy I exude and the way I approach my husband directly affects his response and behavior. I'm going to leave that there and you can go and read the rest of this, because if it directly affects his response and behavior, he's the one with the problem, not you. You know, in relationships, we shouldn't have to change for the other gender. When we meet that person, they meet us as this whole being. We are what we are. And if they don't like it, they must move on. But I can tell you now, I'm not changing the way I am and my alpha status for any man. None whatsoever. When disclosing why she decided to embrace her femininity, Venker briefly mentioned that she had zero interest in her husband adopting a more feminine role. This may at first seem like a logical reason to change, but her claim that she had zero interest in her husband adopting a more feminine role implies that she wanted her husband to be the person in charge, the alpha. She clung to this desire even while embracing her alpha ways in her marriage. But this means that her excuse for changing her ways wasn't logical after all. Cognitive dissonance, a term I use often, may have prompted her to adjust. She wanted herself and her husband to be the alpha leader. Something must give. Why can't two alphas be together? You know, if you look at wolves, you have an alpha male and you have an alpha female. Just saying. The misogynistic self-loather has adopted a general attitude of contempt towards every one of her own filthy kind, including herself. She regards women, including herself, as promiscuous, manipulative, dishonest, irrational, incompetent, or unintelligent. She tends to be in denial about her own self-loathing, but not usually about her contempt for other women. Hulu's dystopian television series, The Handmaid's Tale, absolutely loved that, adapted from Margaret Atwood's novel of the same name, offers several examples of misogynistic self-loathers. Inside the Republic of Gilead, where most women are infertile, the remaining fertile women are enslaved as handmaids by the commanders and their wives. The series follows the plight of June, Offred, her given name, by Gilead, a handmaid owned by Commander Fred Waterford, and his wife Serena Joy, owned. She's therefore a slave. The most important part of Offred's job as a handmaid is to carry a child for the commander and his wife. During a monthly act of ritualistic sexual violence called the ceremony, Offred is shown lying with her head in Serena's lap while the commander grapes her. And again, this is the self-loathing that some women have for their own gender. The misogynistic she-devil. She sees herself as superior to other women and at least on a level with, if not above, the top alpha males she encounters. In her view, other women are manipulative, dishonest, irrational, incompetent, or unintelligent, but somehow she is exempted. She might possess some stereotypical female virtues like beauty and slenderness, but she perceives herself as instantaneing the stereotypical masculine virtues of intelligence, the strength of character and rationality, and her behaviour is more manly than that of her male co-workers, classmates or friends. Don't be surprised if she can outdrink all of them. She's in constant competition with other women and would rather kick a woman off of the career ladder than help them. She is a host to dark personality traits. Her firm belief that she is superior to other women points most strongly to narcissism. The narcissistic traits are also routinely present in borderline personality disorders, that's BPD, and psychopaths. In the general population, dark traits tend to be subclinical, which means that they are not associated with the level of dysfunction seen in clinical cases, but mixing high functionality with a sinister character trait is more likely to give you a Molotov cocktail than a cosmopolitan. And narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy are my chosen subjects when it comes to psychology, the dark triad. That is where I want to take my studies and my research in the future. There was also something here that I saw about transgenderism. Just bear with me a second. Sorry, I must have skipped that. But they also claim, these female misogynists, that transgender women are actually men and should be men and should not be women, and that they have mental illness. No, that is not the case. If a man wants to become a woman and wants to go through the transition, then they can do so. I am friends with many trans women and trans men. I'm friends with many gay women, gay men, bisexuals, pansexuals, whatever kind of sexuality they have, and I embrace them all and allow them to exist. So, is that person a misogynist? More than likely. More than likely. Have they been brainwashed by their father, their partner, or some other male counterpart in their life? More than likely. Feminism is very important in this day and age, especially when we see what's going on in the States, when agendas are changing so quickly, and equality rights have been taken away from people already. I'm going to put some links to that in the description box below, but I'm going to post something here as well so you can see that Donald Trump has actually taken away equality rights when it comes to work. So basically what he's saying there is that anybody who is not male will not be paid the same as a male in the same job. Now, some people say, oh, that's capitalism. I don't agree with capitalism either, because I think that is heading towards dystopia in our society. And capitalism basically forces us to buy. And only a few at the top are the rich and the super rich. So don't be misled when a man tells you that you should be more feminine. No, you as a woman can be whatever you want to be. If you choose to be that beta, fine. But trying to tell a woman who is a feminist, who is an alpha female, who will not subserve to any man in any situation, that they're not a feminist or they are a toxic feminist, yeah, cognitive dissonance. Get your critical thinking hat on. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of flack for this one. Pop your comments down below. Hope to see you next time. Blessed be.